Do you have it together, or is your life a mess? Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, I got to talking to a couple different people over the last few weeks, and for some of them, they feel like their life is in a mess. For other people, they feel like they've got their life really together. And having your life together doesn't mean that you don't have issues, or you don't have problems, or you don't have things that come up, or that everything is necessarily perfect. It just means you feel that everything is pretty well together as you want it. And people that feel like their life is a mess often feel like things are out of their control, totally chaotic, going in all kinds of directions that perhaps they don't want their life to go in. And so I got to thinking about people who have their life together and people who seem to not have their life together. You know, one of the things that I've noticed with people who don't have their life together, they tend to often feel overloaded and overwhelmed. They tend to feel pulled in too many different directions. People that do have their life together often feel that they're not overloaded, that they're able to balance what they have on their plate of life. And so I find that that is probably the biggest difference between people who feel that things are out of control and people who feel that things are pretty much the way they want them and in balance. Often when people feel like their life is really messed up, often it's to do with the choices that they've made. And, you know, choices tend to lead to results. When we make a choice, we tend to back it up with actions, and those actions tend to create results. And sometimes people have to dig their way out of a mess to clean it up. And some people, rather than do the work to clean up their mess, they just keep making a bigger mess. And that's only going to dig the hole deeper and eventually get to the point that if they want to get out of that hole, they're going to have to dig a lot harder than they would if they cleaned up that mess initially. And so I think people can feel at different points of their life that their life is a mess, and yet it often does come down to decisions, and even the decision to overload one's plate of life. You know, a person can even overload their life with too many good things to the point that they feel stretched beyond what they should be stretched. And then they become exhausted. And often when they become exhausted, that's when poor decision making comes in. And so I think often when people feel that their life is a mess, often it has had to do with the decisions that they've made. So in my opinion, I believe in making right decisions going forward, regardless of the decisions that were made in the past. Sometimes we can't change everything that happened in the past, but we can quit digging our hole deeper and begin to dig our way out of it. And sometimes when we get out of it, things are going to look totally different than when we first went in before we dug our hole. And sometimes they'll look exactly the same, or they'll look similar. And sometimes you have to create newness in your life where something was different before. And so I believe that the choices that we make in life are so important, whether we feel like we have our life together or whether we don't feel like we have our life together. And often people that don't feel like they have their life together, that they feel it's a mess and feel overwhelmed, have often been making repetitive poor decision making and often knew that they were making bad decisions, but they did it anyhow, thinking that they were going to somehow get a good result or that they could deal with the results later down the line. And unfortunately, you know, down the line finally appeared, and now they have to figure their way out of it. They can continue to dig their way in the hole, or they can dig their way out of the hole. And I believe if a person has made difficult or bad choices, is to back it up with new, fresh, and good choices. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.